this house. There were 2 bedrooms on the right end of the house, and then this was a hall bath. They had a half bath, and it was barely a half bath on the very other end of the house next to the garage. So this is what we had. No master suite. It didn't have a master at all. 1 bathroom and 2 bedrooms on that end of the house. When you walked in the front door, you looked ahead, and this is what you saw. We had French doors here. We had the same ugly rock inside the house that we had outside the house, and this useless little bookcase. And then back here, at some point years ago, they closed in a porch, and this was just an extra little room at the back of the living room. So the first thing we tackled while those people were still living there, we had to replace the roof. So we had that done. So we replaced it with black shingles, which right after COVID was the only shingle you didn't have to wait for, and painted the fascia black to match. And then that ugly, dirty looking sandstone, we primed and painted. I've never painted stone before. I've painted brick, but this was the only stone I ever painted, but it looked so much better. We changed out some windows eventually, and you can see right here a little hint that we took away that garage, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. We also decided to do something decorative here to take away that odd door when you were looking at the front, because this was the front door. And so we didn't want it to look like a duplex. So we just put a little decorative fence, and I put a cafe table and chairs. I put black mulch and then a cafe table and chairs, as though you were going to walk out of the kitchen, out this door, and have coffee in the morning. If you ever have something odd in a house that you just can't really make go away, make it have a purpose, make it make sense. And I have a funny story about that. Well, first of all, let me say this one thing. The photographer took this when we were going to list the house for sale. You can see it was painted the same color as the front door this door was. We still had people look at it and complain that it looked like a duplex because of that door. And so we painted it. We went back and painted it the color of the house. So we kind of made it disappear instead of highlighting it. So we did do that, but the pictures were already taken. But the funny story is that I took the cafe table and chairs off of my mom's porch. I said, hey, I'm borrowing this. I rushed it off, took it there, planted it. When we got the offer on the house, it stipulated that we leave that one little table and 2 chairs there that had to come with the house. So you never know what little thing you can do that's going to make a difference to the buyers. Okay, so what else did we do to the outside of this house? We pulled up dead shrubs. We trimmed up all these trees that were just way overgrown. Of course, we pulled up, guys, I'm sad. We mulched and planted tons of plants, and the deer in 2 nights wiped us out. They ate, this was full of flowers and all kinds of shrubs. They got all the shrubs down to almost to the root. And so we learned our lesson. The deer will annihilate everything. Okay. So we did close in the garage, because remember my problem with this house was we didn't have a master, and there was no way we were going to be able to sell this house without an ensuite master with an ensuite. It just isn't going to happen. We could not find a place inside the house that made sense if we wanted to have 3 bedrooms instead of 2. And this house was not small. It was like 2,400 square feet. It just didn't make sense for that big of a house to be 2 bedroom, 1 bath. So we learned how. I went to my coaches. I was still in coaching, and I said, help me know whether I should close in the garage or not. They helped me figure out how to analyze that particular problem with numbers and to decide if it was worth doing that. And so I did it. And I can tell you really quickly, if you lose a garage, you're probably going to lose about $10,000 in the appraised value. But then you have to go back in and say, what will we gain for living space per square foot? So if it's $200 or more a square foot, then it's probably worth it. That was how I did. So I figured out, okay, the square footage we're putting in times the, the appraised value per square foot minus the 10,000, but people get an ensuite master bedroom. I can't sell it without it. It made perfect sense. And here's another tip I want you to remember. Drive the neighborhood. If there is not one other converted garage in the neighborhood, I probably would not do that. I would come up with a different solution. We thought about adding a garage, but when we drove that neighborhood, probably 40% of the houses had converted garages. So it wasn't unusual. This was a lakeside community. They were very casual. People had boats in the yard. I mean, it wasn't it just wasn't a formal neighborhood. It was more relaxed. And so there were a lot of converted garages. So that, on top of the money, the numbers, that also helped me make the decision to close it in. But we didn't want it to look ugly. We saw a lot of ugly conversions. And so we created what you're going to find here. They could park their car here and they could walk into a really nice, pretty mudroom. And that could be their entry, so they didn't have to go all the way down the sidewalk to the front door. So that actually worked out fine. This is when you walked in the front door. So we replaced everything in this house as far as floors and doors and things like that. We replaced all the windows. We actually ended up putting sheetrock on top of the popcorn ceiling, 1/4-inch sheetrock, because it had been painted so many times it was too hard to scrape. It was going to cost more to scrape than to just put up new sheetrock. I used color. I used paint to create drama and create architectural details where maybe there are no architectural details in a house. And so you can see I did that. I painted all of my exterior doors a color called ironwork. And then I used another color. It's just a warm gray on all of the trim. And then I used a color called aesthetic white, which is a white that has the slightest tint of gray in it. That was for the walls. I paint the walls and the ceiling the exact same color and finish. It's cheaper because they don't have to change paint. So I don't put satin or eggshell on the wall and then flat on the ceiling. On a lower or mid-range flip, I put flat on both. If I move up higher, that's going to change to satin on the walls and flat on the ceiling. But it costs more to change paint, so that's what I do.